the way Michael McGreevy is going, he might be better than a back of the rotation. He might be a number 2 or a number 3 in his career. He's 10-3 with a 3.63. He's got a career strikeout rate of 16.1%. He doesn't walk people, only 3.9% walk rate for his career. And I'll start with this because you are somebody who pays very close attention to the sport of baseball. Do you think that as a baseball, let's call it not a fandom, let's start with the media. Are media and maybe baseball people too hung up on the strikeout?
Ooh, interesting. I don't think they're too hung up on it. I think you can do well without it, but is it sustainable over the course of a career and years to do it? Yes, in certain cases, but when you have the strikeout, I think it can be, you can sort of make assumptions. You're more comfortable making assumptions about the way a guy's career could play out versus when you have a level of confidence that it's a rarity for him to have those big strikeout games.
Are you good with a guy who has in his career 5.9 strikeouts per 9? Is that now he's not going to be Hunter Green, who's at 12 per 9?
No, that's half.
Yeah,
that's about half.
Yeah. Now I'm not saying that he can be a number 1. Is he going to wind up being Max Scherzer? No, but could he be a number 2, or could he be a guy that starts the third game of a playoff series for you if he pitches the way he has so far in his career? And this is only 17 starts, but the stuff and the numbers, the profile kind of looks to me like a guy that could start the second or third game of a playoff series.
You could get away with it. I think there's a realm in which, and I think he'll improve as time goes along. Like, I don't think we've seen the ceiling of Michael McGreevy. Part of the idea of getting him as many starts as possible this year was to get his feet wet and to know that, like, all right, as a new year comes in 2026, maybe, front office ownership isn't ready to spend big, but does experience lead to a step forward from Michael McGreevy that makes the 26 Cardinals a little better than people think right now that it could be? Like, that's a possibility for Michael McGreevy for sure. But like, if you're really talking about, it just depends on the level of contender you're looking at. Like, could the Cardinals with a McGreevy as your number 3 sneak into a postseason and maybe win a series? You could get away with that. I think he settles in as more like a 3.5, 3 to 4 in a team that's truly like a Brewers level win in the division. That's the expectation. That's what we do here. He's probably more of that mid-rotation guy, but that's what you're looking at right now and about this year's team and saying, well, he's been probably their second best starter, maybe. I mean, statistically, what's Sonny Gray's ERA even, right? Like, it's just been one of those years where everybody's in the 4s, if not 5s. And so you look at the team's record and say, gosh, it's a wonder they're as close to 500 as they are. Michael McGreevy has a spot in the Cardinals rotation long term. It's just the upside is an interesting question when you bring up the K numbers, because to your question, no, I don't look at 5.9 for 9 strikeouts per 9 inning. And I need to know a lot more information about that pitcher to believe he's going to be successful if that's the first number you tell me about a guy. But I think McGreevy has a lot of the other stuff, including makeup, including pitch maker, including he's he's got a little snarl to him out there. He's got a mentality that I think can really serve him well. And the degree to which he's able to maybe add more swing and miss, maybe that's not a possibility, but he challenges guys into situations where they hit into weak contact, and maybe that is sustainable for him as he grows.
Now, I want to get a couple of things out here. Number one, I'm still of the belief, and I think the Cardinals still are, that Quinn Matthews can be a guy that is a front of the rotation guy. Clearly, Doyle is a guy that can be a front of the rotation guy. And I just keep hearing the name and talking to people in the organization here in St. Louis and throughout the organization that are seeing guys in the minors and that scouted. The Cardinals have every belief that Tanner Franklin can be a stud. The second Tennessee pitcher that they took in their second rounder, Tanner Franklin, was really good. And I think we talked about it during the draft. One of the people that was involved said, if he would have been on another team other than Tennessee that was loaded with pitchers, that he probably would have been a first round pick because he has that sort of ability. But because he was on Tennessee pitching out of the bullpen, He didn't get as much play as a guy like Liam Doyle did, but they think Franklin can be a front of the rotation guy too.
Yeah, and I mean, another guy with that kind of swing and miss quality, you hope, had 52 strikeouts in 38 innings for Tennessee earlier this year. He's pitched even a little bit more than Liam Doyle has in the minors, 3 starts compared to just 2, I believe, for Doyle. He's walked 5 guys in 6 innings, but that's a small sample. 9 strikeouts is what you look at and go, all right, like hone that stuff, and they believe he can be somebody that can be a factor. And what a steal he would be in the second round if that ends up being the case.
Now, another guy that has been, I will say, disrespected. I'll say I have disrespected him, is Thomas Ajacey. And maybe Thomas Ajacey is better than they or I think he is. When the Cardinals got him, what I was told from people that watched him play right off the bat is, he doesn't have the arm to play infield in the majors. I think he does. And then it was, at best, he's a utility guy. And that still might be the case. But he's done nothing to dissuade me from thinking that he can play. I mean, what has he done wrong? What has he done to show that he can at least get a shot as an everyday guy?
Yeah, and if he doesn't get a shot as an everyday guy, I think you're talking about a version of the Cardinals that if he's on your bench playing that utility role, but in there 3-4 times a week, and filling in daily when there are injuries, like that's what organizational depth looks like.
Especially as a right-handed hitter on this team, right?
Absolutely. And so, I mean, he's hitting 263. I know batting average isn't the end-all be-all, but that's above the league average. Does he have any pop? He showed some pop in the minors last year, hit 20 homers in AAA and in homers last night. Like, does he develop into that a little bit more? I think he's a guy that certainly, as you're thinking about next year, that's the role he fills. There's no more Memphis for him. It's time to maybe take that next step, almost regardless of how many infielders might be traded. Sajacey is at least in that super utility role, playing several times per week. And maybe you have the makeup of a roster next year that's a little bit more conducive to, all right, some pitch hit opportunities, some defensive subbing late, like allowing a manager to kind of organize things. Whereas I think this year, Ollie started that way, like the first week or so. And we saw, Pages is coming in for Herrera to catch, and they're moving Walker to here. Like they were doing a lot. And then they kind of said, it's more about the runway for guys to see what our lefty bats can do against left on left and find out about players. I think next year, hopefully it looks a little bit different to where you can try to win each game and not really say, well, but what happens if Gorman takes that left on left? Well, if he hasn't shown that that's the best thing for that moment, maybe by next year you're willing to do some different things. And Thomas Sajacey could be very involved in that.
I wonder if next year, though, if the pitching staff is what if the pitching staff is what the position players were this year. It just has the feel that next year is going to be another runway year, but not for the position players or pitchers.
For the pitchers. Who does that incorporate in your opinion?
Well, number one, the entire bullpen.
Yeah.
You have to figure out who your closer is going to be. I think you have to set things up at the back end and things you can't really find out during the course of spring training, because until the lights are bright and you have the third deck, getting that 27th out is a different animal altogether. Being in high leverage situations is completely different. And then, okay, so McGreevy's he's not going to even get to 20 starts this year. So you want to find out about him for a full season. Now that Liberatore knows what it takes to deal with a full season, is he going to be able to accomplish that? Is Andre Palante even part of the equation? What is Kyle Leahy next year? I think there's a ton. And I know Katie Wu is convinced that they will move Sonny Gray, which would open up another spot. So I kind of think your whole rotation is probably one where people at different levels are trying to figure out what they're capable of.
Yeah, and if they do move Sonny Gray, which I think he should be a San Francisco Giant, that makes all the sense in the world.
There, yeah.
From like a climate standpoint, from they're looking to, they're always willing to add a player of salary. And I don't want to completely take the Cardinals off the hook. If they end up being able to trade Sonny and not have to eat the majority of that contract, my expectation would be Heimblum ownership have a willingness to eat a little bit more and go into free agency and target certain positions that you feel like you don't have enough of, which I think could be a starter in that bargain bin. I'm not saying it wouldn't feel like low-hanging fruit, but I think some quality low-hanging fruit is potentially something that could help the Cardinals next year with the situation that they're in currently. So I would be almost for that. Not to say that they don't potentially lose even more games, because as much as Sonny Gray has probably been a disappointment relative to what they're paying him and certainly what they would be paying him next year, I also think that there's a floor there that he's not going to dip below, and you can't necessarily say that about the next man up. It could be pretty lean, but like you said, that's maybe the runway aspect of it.
And we need to do a homework project because I'm on the same page. Like, remember a few years ago when Taijuan Walker had been hurt, and I think I had no problems if the Cardinals would have signed him.
Yeah.
But you need to find that guy that's done it before, maybe is a bounce back candidate.
Pay him more than he might give you too.
Yeah.
Like if you pay him $5, $6, $7 million for a guy that's coming off of an injury, that doesn't mean that he's going to pay out, but the risk is pretty minimal at that point with upside.
Michael Wacha has done started with the Padres, had a great year with the Padres, and now with the Royals. Michael, I certainly didn't expect to see the Michael Wacha that we've seen for the last 3 years.
And do you have now going into 2026 folks in the organization that you didn't have before that could potentially take advantage and help a reclamation project?